Marine biology is a branch of marine science involving the study of animals and plants that live in the ocean and on the shoreline and how they interact with the environment. Wherever there's science, there's always math. Marine biologists spend their time tracking and exploring ocean life, conducting new experiments, and working with animals in captivity. Throughout their work, they are constantly using math. One of the very first things marine biologists use that involves math is measuring. Marine biologists use tools such as scales, measuring boards, and microscopes to measure and examine the different species. The temperature of the ocean can be measured using tools as simple as a thermometer or more sophisticated devices such as a CTD, which measures conductivity, depth, and temperature. Marine biologists also use quantums, which measure light levels in the water, and salinometers, which measure the salinity of the ocean water. For example, if a scientist wanted to determine the density of a certain type of seaweed, they would need to calculate the seaweed's mass and divide it by its volume. To figure out the volume of the seaweed, you would need to fill a graduated cylinder with an exact amount of water and then place the seaweed in the cylinder. You would then take the volume of the water after you place the seaweed in and subtract the volume of the water before you put the seaweed in, and then you're left with the seaweed's volume. After, you would then divide the mass by the volume and you would have the seaweed's density. The second thing marine biologists use is converting units, for example, from the English to metric system or from inches to feet. For example, in this problem here, let's say a dolphin travels at 2 inches per 1 second, but the scientist wants to know how fast this is in miles per hour. To do this, you take 2 inches per second and multiply by 3,600 seconds per hour. This changes our units of seconds to units of hours. Next, you need to divide by 12 inches per foot to change the units of inches to units of feet. Finally, divide by 5,280 feet per mile to change the units from feet to miles. The number you are left with is now the units in miles per hour. The next step is to simplify and cross out all like terms. First, you cross out inches and inches, seconds and seconds, and feet and feet. After you do the terms, you do the numbers. After you simplify everything, you get 300 over 2,640, and after you divide that, you get 0.11 of a mile in 1 hour. Another concept marine biologists use is dimensional analysis, otherwise known as converting units. For example, if a scientist measured the area of a seahorse's tail in square inches but they wanted to know the size in square feet, he or she would need to do a unit conversion problem. Let's say, just for an example, the scientist measured the seahorse's tail to be 4 square inches. To convert this number to square feet, you need to know how many inches are in a foot. We know that there are 12 inches in a foot, so taking that one step further, there are 12 times 12 square inches per square foot, which comes out to 144 square inches per square foot. Therefore, the area of the seahorse's tail in square inches would be 4 divided by 144 square inches per square foot. In our example, the original number of square inches becomes 0.0278 square feet. Finally, the last concept I'm going to explain that marine biologists use is mathematical formulas. Animals that live in the sea won't just stay still for scientists to measure them, so they have to resort to using mathematical formulas to calculate things such as size and average behavior. For example, if marine biologists wanted to study average behaviors, they would have to count the number of times that behavior occurred and divide it to get an average number. As a specific example, if a scientist wanted to figure out the average amount of times a turtle eats a day, they would have to count every time the turtle eats for several days or even up to many weeks and then divide that total sum by the amount of days recorded. After they did that, they'd come out with the average a turtle eats every day. As you can see, math is deeply rooted in the day-to-day studies of marine biology. Just some examples are the measurements, dimensional analyses, and the formulas these scientists use. Without math, this science or any science wouldn't be possible.